Mr. Giugiaro, they have built you a monument.
Yes, they exaggerated a bit. But there were so many things to say.
Have you posed as a model or...
No, I wasn't very attentive while this cyclopic work was taking shape.
I haven't found any dedication. Should we make one now?
Well, I would dedicate it to all the people I've met. The people who have shared their professional lives with me, including some relatives and friends, and of course my wife, who, together with my children, have suffered my absence considerably.
Italians are not great readers.
True, but there are a lot of pictures to look at.
Yes, many illustrations to get inspired. Anyway, it's not a book for insiders.
No, it's not a book for insiders or intellectuals. Although it does touch on the essence of car engineering and architectural research, both key factors of my job, it's more like a magazine, targeted to
a larger audience. Much of your personal story is depicted in the first chapter. Your homeland Piemonte, your village. The publisher indulged in a bit of a reality show.
Yes, they stripped me right down and left me standing there for all to see. The book covers my childhood, my school days, my family, and various friends. It's an ordinary story about ordinary people, just the same as many others.
How was your native village, where you were born and from where you had to escape?
When you're born in a small community, there are some advantages, because you can see life as a whole. The connections to the outside do exist, but you rely on books, papers, and the radio. Television hadn't arrived yet. So you can get information about what's happening in the larger world. And so there's a strong desire to go and see things with your own eyes, and to experience it firsthand, to become part of a more rewarding environment, more suited to a person who wants to progress in life.
Your father was a painter and a decorator. Did he understand your interest in the avant-garde and the new movements? Did you talk to him about them, and how did he react?
Well, he loved the great masters, from Michelangelo to Raphael.
The cult of the classic.
The cult of the classic. But obviously, as a young man, I was exposed to the artistic evolution of artists from Picasso to Fontana and Burri. Well, you can imagine the exchanges of opinion I had with him.
In your opinion, the future is always interesting?
It's always interesting, because we are not naturally open to the future. We tend to be suspicious of new food, new architecture, new thought, because we feel that these new things are out to cheat us, that they will push us out of our comfortable routine. And yet we should be open, because only with time can you understand just how much potential the human mind really has.
Let's go back to the book, to the cover. Why have you picked this car?
Well, back in 1993, we're talking about the past century now, I was involved in the complete development of a new, elegant, comfortable sports car. It was a project I carried out in total freedom, in line with my personal taste, and with the expectations that I had at that time.
And that's how the Bugatti was born.
That's right. Unfortunately, for many reasons, mostly financial, the concept never turned into a production model. It remained a dream.
Here I've discovered a young Giugiaro serving in the Alpine Brigade. How are the youth of today?
The youth of today have many more difficulties than we had. At the end of the Second World War, I was a boy and I had nothing. You had to fight for things, and that was stimulating. A simple soccer ball, a bicycle, these were dreams. Today, kids have everything and nothing at the same time. The new generations are facing a tremendous amount of competition in every activity, including car design. A talented beginner today has always to keep in mind that there's an enormous number of people lining up in front of him and behind him. He has to give up everything and dedicate himself to being the best.
These are the space-age drawings you have made to seduce Nuccio Bertone. Can we say that these sketches, your dreams in a way or another, have become reality?
In 1959, I was a young Fiat employee. As I wanted to earn a little bit on the side, I started doing some illustrations, and I asked a friend of mine who was working for Bertone to show them to him, just to see if he might be interested. And Nuccio Bertone took the chance. He agreed to meet me. He wanted to evaluate my skill and experience, of course, before giving me a job. So I showed up at the meeting and showed him a lot of these drawings to illustrate my graphic artwork at the time.
And from them came the Corvair Testudo, a true concept car. Here it is. You built this prototype in 3 months.
Less than that, even. If you check in my notebook, you'll see that I began sketching the 1/10th model around the beginning of January. I'm not sure exactly what date.
January the 2nd.
January the 2nd. And on March the 13th, we put the prototype on the road and drove to Geneva with Bertone. So that was January, February, 2 months.
In 1965, you quitted Bertone for Ghia. Then you started on your own business. In the book, there are a group of gentlemen who seem to mark the time of this part of the story. Who are these men?
These are the men who understood what we were aiming to do, stylistically and in terms of engineering. They trusted us and invested in our creative and technical know-how. They're managers who looked with confidence at our company through many years. So that's why I painted these small portraits of them. It's my way to express our appreciation and gratitude.
Let's meet some of them. Here is Colin Chapman. What have you done together?
Meeting him was very interesting, although he's much better known for his Formula One work than for his cars that went into general production. He approached us at Ital Design with the idea of a new compact sports car, a 2-seater with a fiberglass body. We produced the first sketches and the mock-ups. He was very satisfied with the preliminary work. But when we started testing at the wind tunnel, the aerodynamic data didn't make him happy. He was expecting a much more efficient performance. So he was about to cancel the whole project. But as we'd planned to display the Lotus at the Turin Motor Show, we decided to continue working on it. The new car impressed many and was welcomed by the press. It also gave birth to quite a successful model, which appeared in a James Bond movie.
The Spy Who Loved Me. In the following pages, many of the greatest Korean and Japanese top managers of car industry make their appearance. Hyundai's Si Young-chung, Eiji Toyoda from Toyota, and then others from Isuzu, Daewoo, Nissan. What have you learned in the Far East from these masters?
I learnt that we can do things in a completely different way from the way we're used to doing things. And that meant that when someone said to me, for example, it can't be produced like that, I could reply, in Japan they can do it.
Their procedures allow them to do it.
That's right. A unique idea of assembling, for example. But not only. I was fascinated to see how people in a foreign country, quite different and distant from mine, had developed a highly effective approach to technical matters as well as to the economics of production.
Page 92. In the book, as well as in your life, you never forget Aldo Mantovani, your partner. There must be a reason.
He was an absolutely key figure. He was not only a brilliant engineer and a competent technician. For me, he was almost a brother, and he taught me so much. When we established Ital Design, we were perfectly in tune with each other. Partners can have conflicting views and can be quite demanding, but that wasn't the case with him. I could work with the greatest freedom. We never had an argument or confrontation in 40 years. Now that's a miracle. A husband and wife fight much more than we ever did. Absolutely nothing ever threatened our relationship.
Here we have another giant, Giovanni Agnelli.
Well, Agnelli was not the kind of chairman you're supposed to call to propose a new project or to discuss details. On the other hand, he was a curious man who enjoyed talking, and he had a tremendous cultural background, a great interest in art. Unfortunately for him, I was not the Chirico.
This one, on page 182, is one of the most beautiful pictures of the book. You and your son Fabrizio in front of a concept car, a four-hands project, I believe.
Many years ago, when I used to drive home in a prototype, or a brand new production car, Japanese or American, Fabrizio, who was a boy then, immediately jumped in, intrigued by all the details, the mechanics, the interior. Sometimes he paid more attention to these things than I did. And so he grew up with a special feeling for everything to do with the functional side of a car, with the living soul, which is always connected to the aesthetics.
Among Fabrizio's projects, which one you prefer?
One of my favorites is the BMW concept with rear engine that we developed, I think in 1993. The heart of the project was a carbon fiber frame, and Fabrizio took care of all the engineering, flying up and down to Munich. He was still very young, and the people at the factory were surprised by his meticulous approach, something that at BMW only much more experienced designers would have been able to deal with.
The title of the following chapter, number 4, I think, is Form as a Universal Language. We are stepping into the world of industrial design, an opportunity, a necessity, or just fun.
All of these things, all together. Our approach is always the same, whether we're working on a car or a totally different project. The need comes into play when we have some downtime between projects. For example, when we've just delivered one project and haven't been briefed properly to start the next one. At those times, the company is still active, the costs are still coming in, and so that creates the perfect opportunity to design something new, something smaller, of course, or to look at new markets, for example.
So while you are making your time more profitable,
Exactly.
you are expanding your know-how.
So we're learning all the time.
Let's go back a few pages. This picture, I believe, has a very special meaning. How did you sleep the night before signing the final agreement with Volkswagen?
I slept very well the night before, and I slept extremely well the night after too. But my wife and some of my closest relatives took it a little differently. The general feeling was that we were losing control of the company, which is of course a fact. But my involvement, my pleasure, hasn't changed an inch. The real fun for me comes when the project takes shape. And if it grows in a new, a larger environment, it's even better. I'm not overly possessive about what I create, and we're all going to die eventually and leave everything behind us, so we should look at this pragmatically. I secured the lives of 1,000 families. When I told Dr. Pirk that Ital Design needed a new financial partner, a strong investor who could help us face the future and support some challenging projects we had in mind with more tranquility, he answered, "Here we are." But I said, "You're a car factory. If we merge, I won't be able to work for another car manufacturer ever again." And then he said, "Excuse me, we have 12 different brands.
Aren't they enough?
Aren't they enough?"
Before closing, I'd like to go back to the nature, to country life, to your native environment in a certain way. Are you a loner?
Yes, I find myself quite good company, really. I'm happy by myself. Of course, I enjoy being with people. I like spending time with good friends. But when I'm alone, in the wilderness, I'm always very happy. I'm never afraid. I'm still able to go hiking, even on some pretty strenuous trails. I do trial biking too, something I started with my son Fabrizio when he was a teenager, and I shared his passion for trial bikes. So now I've got the mountains and I've got the trial bikes, which combines the two.
And in this way, you have added a pinch of motor technology to the environment, a must for Giugiaro.
Well, the noise can be annoying, but with the right physical training, you can learn how to control these incredible inventions. They're designed for extreme sports, and they're very, very physically demanding. In fact, trial bikers need to train so hard that they become,
an athlete.
well, athletes.